and Microsoft sales teams. And that's your Bloomberg Business Flash. Alex.
Thank you so much, Taylor. Well, floodwaters are receding in Houston, and they're expected to be gone by tomorrow, as estimates report that the storm Harvey flooded 136,000 homes and businesses in Harris County, Texas. Plus, your refineries are now slowly restarting after outages across the storm's path, but many in Louisiana and Texas are still reporting shutdowns. And the big question is, can anyone who needs the supply actually get it? If you take a look at this map, this shows the Colonial Pipeline. It winds up moving about 2.5 million barrels a day of product like gasoline and distillate from the Gulf Coast to the East Coast. The blue parts of the map are the pipeline that's active. The red parts are what's shut down or idle and inactive. And what you can see is the Southeast is really getting hit hard, as there are a lot of closures or reduced flows for pipeline products and crude. What's the outcome? Joining us now from Philadelphia, Stephen Schork, Schork Group President. Stephen, talk to me about the importance, particularly for the Southeast, of this Colonial Pipeline.
Oh, absolutely. It is the main conduit that takes oil, or refined oil, I should say, gasoline and diesel, from the refinery epicenter in the Gulf Coast area. So the Colonial Pipeline connects to 13 refineries in that area, and it moves, as you said, a couple of million barrels of gasoline per day up through the Northeast, through North Carolina, with the terminus being in New York Harbor, actually in North Jersey. So a significant amount of gasoline supply is now under threat. So what we have now is the Colonial Pipeline is shuttered west of the Lake Charles, Port Arthur region, as the refineries from Corpus Christi up through the Houston Galveston epicenter begin to retool. So you're only left with access to the pipe with the refineries essentially in the Louisiana area. Yeah. So you are getting spurts of slower movements along the pipe. So it is a significant event in the short term, where you are going to have inventory issues and you are going to have short-term, and I want to really emphasize this, short-term price events. But this should be, as we said, the waters are receding. They're starting to attempt to get the refineries in Corpus back up in line. Yep. They're looking at Houston and Galveston to start to assess that, to see when these refineries could get back in. So we are in the process of that healing event.
And I should point out that for the Southeast in particular, I mean, it really hurts. They got like one refinery in the region, and they only import like 5% of their product. Yes. Ryan Collins, Bloomberg's natural gas and power reporter, is joining us from the phone in Houston. You just heard Ryan, so we have Stephen talk about how this is a short-term issue. Can you tell us on the ground what has been restarted, what is up and running, what's still down?
Yeah, Alex, thank you for having me. So we're seeing about 23% of refining capacity cut at this point, and the majority of that is happening in Port Arthur, Beaumont, and Houston. What's actually open right now is Mount Bellevue and Lake Charles, and as Stephen just mentioned, they're trying to reopen Corpus Christi units for restarts. I think their aim right now is Sunday. But in other words, there's about 13.5% of Gulf production cut as far as oil is concerned, about 18% of Gulf natural gas production cut. And as right now, there's as much as 10% of U.S. fracking could be delayed.
10% of U.S. fracking could be delayed, and that's why, in essence, we saw the government release about 1 million barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to help. But the question really becomes how much is needed. So this shows the days to cover ratio for the Southeast. It's basically how much you have in stockpiles versus demand, and it's actually at 19 days. That's not bad, Stephen. Walk me through, are we going to have enough gasoline for how long?
Well, bottom line is yes, we are going to have enough gasoline, and I want to emphasize this. There's never a good time for a natural disaster, of course, but as far as gasoline supplies go, better it happens now than it happened in the spring prior to the summer driving season. So we're now on the Labor Day weekend, which means the holiday driving season is over. So between now and Halloween, crude oil demand was already going to drop by at least 1 million barrels a day as the refineries go into their fall maintenance schedules. So what we're essentially seeing is that fall maintenance schedule, which generally peaks in late October, we're moving that forward. So that demand destruction in the crude oil market that we are seeing is just, it was going to happen. It's just happening earlier than possible. So the demand for crude oil is set to ebb. So is the demand for gasoline. So when we juxtapose these two events, and the ability, or the good news, is that the industry had plenty of time to shut down in a very timely fashion. So, and this is a big assumption, that if we don't get any lasting long-term issues with the refineries. They were able to shut down the refineries in a prompt manner. Therefore, once they are given the green light, they will be able to start. And as the reporter just said, they're looking to get Corpus up on Sunday. So that is within a week of bearing the brunt of the storm. And that is a fairly good note at this point. So what we can go off of, Alex, is we like to look at history here. You can't go forward without looking back. And the last time we saw this was, of course, 2008 with Hurricanes Ike and Gustav in this area. And then, of course, the granddaddy of them all, Katrina and Rita in 2005.
Right.
And as I said before, the price spikes were short-lived. I expect them to be. Back in Katrina, the worst of it, we saw a 20 to 30 cent spike in the AAA prices, but for over about a 2-week period. Those prices quickly regressed as we got into the fall and as demand fell and as capacity came back online.
All right, Stephen, great stuff. Really appreciate it. Oh, by the way, there's like a Hurricane Irma now that everyone's talking about, so let's watch that as well. Bloomberg's Ryan Collins, thanks so much. Stay safe in Houston. And Stephen Schork of the Schork Group, good to see you as well. If you have Bloomberg Terminal, check out TV Go. You can watch us online, click on our charts and graphics, interact with us directly. Just go to TV Go on your terminal. Rewatch any segment you may have missed. This is Bloomberg.